Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics on Random. Berto Will is your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, and since it's going to be a pretty busy show, we got to get involved. We got to get busy right away. Senor Rodnin, welcome aboard. I see that you're the first one on the chat. Anyhow, title of the show today, Capitalism Needs Racism in Some Form with Police as the Enforcer. Remember that. AVQ, welcome, brother YouTube. Capitalism needs racism in some form with police as the enforcer. America is in transition and at a tipping point. Police, racism, and capitalism are at its center, even if not articulated in those forms. And the powers are scared. And you know why they're scared? Because it's a unity movement, folks. It's a unity movement. We're all coming together as a country because we are actually seeing the con. But, very few connect capitalism, racism, and police. They should, though. They should. The first part of the program, however, features Georgia State Senate candidate Tamara Shealy. I asked for what she was talking about today. I called her up, hey, what are you going to be talking about today? Because, remember, she runs this little piece, you know what I mean? And she said, let's catch up with all that's happening in Georgia. Rashard Brooks, Jamar Robinson, and with Biden, who is he going to choose? All that good stuff she wants to talk about. So I guess she's going to enlighten us about Georgia politics and national politics. And then we will follow that with a serious discussion of what many believe are disjointed subjects, but are not: racism, capitalism, policing. They are all linked. They are all linked and must all be seen together. But now, without further ado, Senora Tamara Shealy, welcome to Politics Done Right one more time. I know you're on a campaign trail. How are things going, my dear?
Hi, Egberto. Good afternoon, Politics Done Right family. Yes, sir, I am full speed ahead. Georgia we just finished our primary, and I'm on the November ballot. So it is full speed ahead, Egberto, right here in the great state of Georgia.
Hey, the election that took place last week was kind of interesting, wasn't it?
It was, because Georgia is one of the this is historical for our U.S. Senate race. We actually have two races on the ballot. The one that, of course, I'm in the special election to replace Kelly Loeffler, and then there is the regularly scheduled U.S. Senate race where David Perdue is up. So we now have a Democratic candidate who is John Ossoff, and Georgia is on fire right now.
Real quickly, the title of the show today, we just had Tamara Shealy, who's running for Senate in Georgia. But the title of the show today is Capitalism Needs Racism in Some Form with Police as the Enforcer. Look, before we go there, I have a few things that I want to play for you. Michael Rudnin, yes, you often say that. Now, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this. I want to first play for you what's occurring. Deborah Big Bang, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Yes, I'm back. We had some network problems, but we're back. Here's what we're going to talk about. I want to play you a little something that came on MSNBC a few minutes ago, just before it came on, and I said to myself, I got to get this out because this can be tied into the subject that we're talking about today. So check this out, and we'll move on after I'm done with this. I've been saying for some time that Republicans are preparing for minority rule. They know they're going to get their clocks cleaned in 2020 if Democrats do what's necessary, if progressives do what's necessary. So what have they been doing? And it's like I've said constantly, they're using the portion of our system that isn't democratic, and that is the judiciary. So what are they doing? They are packing the courts. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
The Senate filled its final vacancy on the Circuit Court of Appeals today. Corey Wilson's confirmation marks a major victory for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and President Trump. They now have 200 judicial confirmations under their belts. The American Constitution Society says McConnell's success at confirming so many lifetime conservative judges means the bench is now younger, more white, and more male. Joining us now is NBC congressional correspondent Leanne Caldwell. So, Leanne, anybody who studied Mitch McConnell knows that this has been one of the main goals, if not the goal, for his time as Speaker, or his time as Majority Leader in Congress, in the Senate.
That's right, Katie. McConnell has had this strategy and this saying of leave no vacancy behind. He's moved extremely close to that today. He hit a milestone with the circuit courts, or the Court of Appeals, which is the second highest court in the land, where he confirmed the 53rd person, which means no more vacancies are left in that court. That's an accomplishment that McConnell says it hasn't happened in at least 40 years. But while he has successfully shifted the makeup of the court more conservative, he's also made the court less diverse. They are more white, more male, and younger. So here's some statistics. Under Trump, 76% of judges are men compared to 58% under Obama. And as far as race is concerned, nearly 9 out of 10 judges are white compared to 6.5 out of 10 judges under Obama. Now, the person that was confirmed today was Corey Wilson to sit on the Fifth Circuit. He was opposed by all Democrats and Republican Maine Senator Susan Collins because of his position on Obamacare and other inflammatory statements that he's made. But McConnell is walking away today saying that this is a significant win for conservatives and himself and the president.
And that's what we're talking about. We have a Supreme Court, or rather, it's circuit courts, and all the courts that McConnell is filling looks nothing like America. These are lifetime positions. They're mostly filled by white men that are conservative, which also means that any progressive policies will come under attack every time they're passed. So what we're going to have to do going forward is win big, and not only win big, but start talking about the courts seriously and all the remedies necessary to solve that problem. And there are, in fact, remedies. There are, in fact, remedies. I mean, people like to call it things like pack the court or increase, a lot of different things that the Constitution doesn't specify as far as the number of judges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's judge impeachment for not passing the law. And if we have supermajorities, et cetera, there's much that we can do in that regard. So, folks, that is what we're going to talk about. But before we get into the subject at hand, I want to give you a little notion as far as Donald Trump, what he did yesterday, because all of these things are going to come into play. This is Donald Trump. Well, how should I say it? This is Donald Trump yesterday. Donald Trump, rally version 2.0 in Arizona. He went out there. He needed to sort of prop himself up. And you know what? He got a rally. It was a smaller rally, but it was in a closed location and a full house because, again, it was a smaller venue. I want you to see how it's interpreted by Lawrence O'Donnell, and then I have a few words after that. Check this out.
The only person in Donald Trump's crowd today who was social distancing was Donald Trump. There he is on stage in Phoenix, Arizona, speaking to a crowd of 3,000 students for Trump who were packed into that audience shoulder to shoulder with only a handful of masks spotted among the thousands. And when a couple of those students were allowed to come up on the stage with Donald Trump, they were not allowed to get anywhere near him. They were way more than 6 feet away, way more than 10 feet away from the one person in today who fears the coronavirus more than anyone else in that room, Donald Trump. That is a picture of Donald Trump in abject fear of the coronavirus. It may be the one rational fear that Donald Trump has. He did the right thing by keeping those kids very far away from him. But he did a profoundly cruel and inhumane thing by encouraging those kids to gather shoulder to shoulder, sitting before him in praise of him, because he is America's Dracula, who takes his sustenance from other people. The image of himself that he sees in the adoring eyes of his audience is what Dracula Trump so desperately needs to get through another day of the excruciating insecurity of being Donald Trump.
Now ask yourself this question. If your president talks about wanting a packed room, he wants everybody, no seat empty, he wants all the seats filled up, which means there's no social distancing, of course, but he won't even shake the hands of somebody who came to see him. He keeps his distance from everybody. Shouldn't that tell his followers something? That if he doesn't want to get close, just maybe they should not be in an environment where they're getting close to others. It behooves one when one sees the sycophants that follow Donald Trump into hurting themselves, but worse. If it were just hurting themselves, it would be okay. But it is also hurting all those that they come in contact with. So when they do what they did today in Arizona, where they are close together to support Donald Trump, they are putting the lives of many other Arizonians at risk. And that is something both the president and his sycophants should bear responsibility for. Exactly right. They should bear responsibility for that. But you know, there are a lot of Republicans that are starting to wake up. And if you take a look at the polls and so forth, the polls are starting to track that a lot of Republicans are waking up. And you know what? Even the former chairman of the Republican Party, he doesn't, he can't take it anymore. And listen to what he had to say. Michael Steele has a message. Former chairman of the Republican Party has a message for Donald Trump, his followers, and those of us who have to survive his followers and Donald Trump. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
At this point, I mean, what should we expect? The rationale thinking, the logic, if you want to call it that, inside that room, and certainly with the team outside that room, meaning the president and his folks, is, well, it's okay. This isn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. We're on the downward side of this thing. So everything you just heard from the good doctor, everything you just heard from other health professionals, in their mind is part of the ruse to undermine the president. This is about propping up a man who is in desperate need to be propped up. This is about providing a nice balm to an ego that has been bruised by polling numbers that have decimated his narrative. So the thinking is, let's go into a hot spot. Let's go into a part of the country where people think that, like we do, and prove the point. And we'll see in 2 weeks how many of those folks wind up going to doctors and getting a cough and going through all of the process. In the meantime, the rest of us are stuck with stupid. And we've got to spend our times now figuring out how we further protect our own lives, our own health, our own communities when these folks come back into those spaces with the rest of us, having given such disregard for not just their own health, but more importantly, their neighbors, their friends, their family members, who will likely get sick because they are that stupid.
Could it be any blunter? Michael Steele hits the nail on the head, and we have a lot that we, among ourselves, those of us who are not partaking of the illusion that Donald Trump knows what he's doing, we have to make sure that we don't allow these other people to infect us in more ways than one, both mentally and virally. Okay, so I wanted to start us out with that particular portion having to do with Donald Trump and how he's causing the deaths of many of the people who follow him. A lot of those people that leave both of those rallies in the next 4 weeks, some of them will be dead. Because, again, the right-wing media has completely lied to its people. I think in the long run, we are going to have to figure out how to prevent media from causing material harm of life to the people who listen to them. Because anybody who's listening to right-wing media, and let me tell you, I don't hate these people at all. In fact, for all practical purposes, I pity them. I mean, and I will still do my best to address them. I'll still do my best to keep them in contact, to keep them and try to enlighten them as best as I can. But when you have a governor that tried not to, I mean, it's evident, right? We have a governor that for the longest time prevented Lina Hidalgo from passing a rule that everybody had to wear face masks because, again, it is proven to slow the spread of coronavirus and many other airborne diseases. But because, again, of ideology and ideological stupery, we didn't do it. So Texas, now the incline of the rates are superbly high. And in being superbly high, now the governor is coming and saying, okay, it's okay for you to wear masks. Please do. Please stay home. all the things that we've been saying that we needed to do before, which would have prevented this rise again, which would have allowed the mitigation of the disease in the first place. We had to abide by a leadership that has sincerely failed and failed and failed and failed. Mike, you no longer have to listen to see if I am right or wrong. I have already been proven right. And it's not me proven right. It's me listening to the competent people proven right and what is happening in Harris County right now, the hotbed of coronavirus, because our governor prevented us from mitigating the thing. So please don't tell me about that, my dear friend. The reality is we screwed up in Texas and we are going to pay the price for having screwed up in Texas. That is what you have when you have terrible, delusional, non-scientific leadership. That is what happens. And that is what is occurring right here. Right here. And the message that you talk about the WHO, you are completely misrepresenting what the WHO said, because what the WHO said is that those people who are asymptomatic doesn't seem to transmit the virus as those that are symptomatic. And that makes very good sense, as one of our callers or one of our listeners said yesterday. Anyway, our topic at hand is racism, capitalism, and police. And let me just start by talking about it this way. For the longest time, we scream racism by cop. We know we have racism, and we have racism all over. In fact, I have a video I have some time later at the end. I want to play it. It's actually inside of our blog for the show today, where a black woman with her black son goes to a restaurant. He has on sneakers and a sports shirt, and they said, you can't eat here because it doesn't follow the company rules, the attire. And right outside, running around, is another white kid a white kid with the same attire, almost identical attire that's there eating. And they really can't give an excuse. They just say, please go change if you want to come in here. That's all they kept telling her. And the manager was insistent on that. Good thing she had it on video. You know what? I know what the subject is, but I'm going to play this because this one hurt to the core, and I wrote a long blog about it. This is a blog I wrote about it. This one hurt to the core. This is the blog I wrote about it. So anyhow, I'm going to play that little video from her Facebook, and then you will take it on the other side.
I'm sorry, ma'am. The gentleman's already explained it to you.
Okay, tell it to me again. You telling me we cannot eat here?
So unfortunately, we do have a dress code. If you have some non-athletic shorts.
But that white kid out there can eat here with his tennis shoes on and his athletic shirt.
So we allow tennis shoes, but not athletic shorts and t-shirts.
He has one. You telling me that's not an athletic shirt? Not that one, but you telling me that little boy who just ate here does not have on an athletic shirt?
I'm sorry. I would love for you to be able to come back and eat here.
So you telling me my son can't eat here because he has on athletic stuff?
No, just the shorts. It is part of our dress code. We try to enforce
So it's only his shorts? Only the shorts can't be athletic?
the shorts and the t-shirt, yes.
But the little boy has on an athletic, the little white kid that just sat out there had on an athletic tennis shoes and an athletic shirt.
I understand that you're upset. If there's any...
No, it's not that I'm upset. The little boy out there had on you telling me it's no athletic wear. The little boy out there had on athletic tennis shoes and an athletic shirt. So why does he get to wear athletic wear and my son can't?
Again, I would love for you to be able to come back. Do you live close enough for your son to change?
No, I don't. I just want to know why it's different for my son.
I understand how you feel.
I don't want you to sympathize with me. I just want you to tell me why it's different for my son. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just asking you why it's different for my son.
I understand.
Then that little kid that was there with athletic tennis shoes and...
The t-shirt that the little kid was wearing, we don't consider that to be athletic t-shirt.
Why?
Honestly, I did not get a good look, but it looked like a regular t-shirt.
I have a video. Do you want to see it?
If you would like to show it to me, I'm happy to look, but I do have to see other guests.
I do have to seat other guests. Now, that is the common racist microaggression people of color see all the time. Normally, they just let it pass. Oh, we can't come in there. We leave. We go somewhere else. or you just these are things that happen, right? This is a learned behavior coming down from the capitalist structure, from the people, because this is how they maintain the compartmentalization. This is how it's done. And when they're caught, however, they have to come up with some sort of a interesting story, right? So in this case, the corporate folks send a message saying, today we learned of an incredible disturbing incident that occurred at one of our restaurants in Baltimore, Uzo Bay. We sincerely apologize to Marcia Grant, her son, and everyone impacted by this painful incident. This situation does not represent who or what Atlas stands for. But that's not true. That is what we stand for. There's a reason why they try to create barriers for different people to enter different domains. And those barriers have to do with keeping people separate. So even though, you remember the separate and equal thing from a long time ago, right? These things are made to compartmentalize society so you can control society. And the enforcers of that has always been the police. And if she didn't have a camera, and she stood there and argued with that guy, eventually 911 would have been called, and 911 would have come out and pulled her out. The enforcer, the police, to move the aggrieved, the person who is the person that's aggrieved, out of that place. That is how the system works. A lot of people, oh, Egberto, that has not, capitalism and racism. Look, I'm going to tell you something. Here is a connection. Capitalism on its own is not sustainable. And I'll explain why. And capitalism not without racism cannot really exist, because you have to create distractions for people and separation in people for others to allow a very small minority to control you and to take over all of your gains. Here is the deal. Bill Gates is a billionaire, and I'm using Bill Gates because he's usually considered a progressive and he has a lot of money. But he's in a capitalist society and he works accordingly. Bill Gates did a lot. Bill Gates bought MS-DOS in some form from another company, licensed it to IBM, and built upon that, made billions of dollars. But Bill Gates himself didn't do it, right? He hired engineers and he hired all these other people at what we call discount. In other words, after these people developed different things for Bill Gates, he paid them at a discount. So the excess value of whatever they produced didn't go to them, the people with the intellect, the intelligence, the foresight to create these things. It went to Bill Gates. So we created a structure where we made that a normal thing. If you are the capitalist, if you are the owner of capital who is buying labor, everything ascends to you. Now, most people, they get a job, they work, and they don't notice those things. But as we grow older and as we get more intelligent, we constantly wonder, why are there all those rich people sitting down at their pools, just investing money into different companies? Other people do the work, and you get the spoils. And you try to give those people who are doing the work as little as possible. Good afternoon, Tiala Wilson. As little as possible. And whatever your profits are from these endeavors, you keep. The very small 1% keeps. The 10% we keep very, very happy. And the 20% a little less happy. And then everybody else, they're just working their asses off. That's capitalism. In other words, your value the money that you make has little value compared to the work you provide to these people, right? So eventually people would start realizing this, and it's like, wait a minute, why the hell am I working so hard when you get the bonuses, when you get the profits, when you get all these things? But if I can create a tiered level of a country, of a place, of an existence, where we can gradate people, right? You are in the lowest part of the pecking order. You are the middle part of the pecking order. And again, it happens in every society. You can look at the caste system in India. It's not like this is not a thing against white people or a thing against any particular kind of people, because societies do this all along. It's a caste system, and they try to create a defining factor that separates people, right? The only reason we use that defining factor in the United States is that, hey, we could bring these people that look like nobody else, and since we've already killed off all the natives here to take their land, we bring these others in. We put them at a lower standard. We have some people believing, at least I'm not them. And then you can build your society, a graded society. Now, most people don't look at Bill Gates as being the problem. Bill Gates has a nice smile. Bill Gates fairly handsome. And Bill Gates it looks like he's doing a lot of good by investing in companies that are going to make a vaccine and all those things. Nice things. He's doing good things with his money. But it's his money. And he's the one directing it. One person. A dictatorship. However, if there was some other type of system where we were valued for what we produced, where we were valued for our real worth, then we could have a real society where that engineer that develops a product and that products take off, he's the one that gets he or she is the one that gets the bonuses and the spoils. Not somebody that is adding numbers and somebody putting their capital. It's the other guys that put his intellect and his arms and his hands and everything at risk. Only way to keep that stuff, only way to start with the major gradation, you start by doing things on race. So you eliminate about 25% of your population, actually more than that now. 13% black and then Latinos and all those other folks. And when I say Latinos, I mean Latinos of races other than white. But you go ahead and you degrade all these different things like that. And then you have the pecking order sort of institutedly reversed. Check this out. The people that were enslaved, the people that were whipped, the people that police take the most advantage of, the people that have the least in society, those who have on the order of magnitude more, are taught to fear them. So here my white brothers and sisters fear the black man, the black woman. You fear them. And you have to ask yourself from a psychological point, how could that be? These are the people that were dominated in this country. These are the people that the police can take advantage of and continuously get off. These are the people that their rights are abused all of the times. These are the people that allowed you to whip them and work in the fields. These are the people that did all those things. And somehow you fear them. There are other things that you have to look at in this issue. Think about this. There were times that people say, oh, black men, we're scared of the black men. They're going to rape all the white women. But if you take a look at the black community with all the mulattoes and the different colors in the black community in the United States, even though most came from the what coast? West Coast. You see that most of the raping wasn't occurring by black men. It was white masters and white leaders and all of these guys, including some of our presidents, who were raping black women. So you have been taught to believe. You have been taught to believe all these things about black people, about black men, about indigenous people as being dangerous. And these people are, they're coming for what's yours, not realizing that the converse is what was always true. Oh, on TV, you see a lot of crime being committed by minorities. You see that on the news. You see it, but when you look at the statistic, even the FBI statistics people talk about, you see who killed more. Yeah, black on black crime, 90%. White on white crime, 80-something%. Yeah, 40-something% of the murders are by minorities. Actually, it is by distressed communities. That's what it is. Not minorities, distressed communities. So you have to create an active session of racism. You have to have racism to keep this particular strata going. Because if you don't, people start asking the correct questions and people start realizing what's real. People start saying, oh my God, you mean we have been snowed all along? We have been lied to all along. Donald Trump is just doing it on steroids. Donald Trump goes out there and tells people, don't worry, coronavirus is just a flu. It's not like this has not been done before. It's not like what Donald Trump is just everything America has been on steroids. Donald Trump just knows how to do it without class. But all our past presidents knew how to do it with class. We could create all kinds of disdains. We could create all kinds of interactions with people to lie to them and let them fear that which they needed not fear. A lot of us have paid the price for that, specifically black people, specifically indigenous people, specifically Latinos of indigenous and other descent. And they have paid that price because we had allowed ourselves to be snowed for decades. Because we use racism as a method of control. We use racism as a method to continue a capitalist structure that hurts all but a few. Even those who have some, after death, many of them realize they lose so much of it because not the estate tax, because at the end of life is usually very expensive because we give all our money right back to the doctors, to the hospitals, the corporations, the capitalist structure. So it would be great if we all understood these concepts completely in much more detail than we do. And that is going to happen, and that has begun to happen. Gen X, Gen Zs, Gen Ys, they're getting it. And that's why all this rift that you see going on in the streets today, all the rioting, all the protests, all these things that are going on, and it's all multicultural. And it's going on that way because they are no longer buying the Kool-Aid that too many have bought for several decades. Well, not several decades, since the inception of this country. Since the inception of this country, we have been lied to. And the divisions that we have among races, the divisions that we have among genders, the divisions that we have among all these things were perpetrated by a few to control us all. Now, I was on Tamara's show a few days ago, and I did a little piece on what they were talking about. So let me play that, and then we'll come back on the other side.
And I will let Mr. Egberto come in because I know he has to come in for a few moments.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Great to see everybody here. Great to see you too. I mean, I'd love to have you on again. Let me tell you, it's interesting that you talk about the billboard and the marketing, etc. We have become, as a country, a corporation. Everything that we do is a matter of controlling people. And the one thing that I want to put out there is that the police force is the enforcer of everything. But what you say about these corporations caring about Black people or caring about people in general, that is a true thing. They care nothing. It's all about the bottom line. We are a capitalist country. A capitalist country, the only thing that matters is capital. And the only way you can control capital is through a method called racism. And the reason racism works is that it goes ahead and it puts people in pecking order. And because of our history, we as Black people, those of us who are Black, we're well placed at the bottom end of the pecking order. And in doing so, that's how they maintain control. Everybody can say, well, at least I am not X. At least I am not X. And it's easier to keep them down. What America saw over the last few months is they developed a certain sense of humanity. Because in all the different types of people they saw killed, hurt, and injured, they saw themselves for once, and they saw themselves doing it. So the narrative started not to fit. And that's why you see the corporations all jumping on Black Lives Matter. These are the same guys who actually consider the Black Lives Matter movement a terrorist movement. These are the people who claimed it was a terrorist movement, but they saw the change coming from our younger Gen Xers, our millennials, our Gen Zs. A lot of people don't like when I categorize people by generations or whatever, but young people, the people that started to see not to be catered by the inhumanity of our economic system, actually got involved. It took the movement being entirely multicultural, multiracial to actually effect change, because suddenly it will have an effect on your bottom line as it is having right now. I have one thing that I'd love to say before I go, and that is, I love that you brought up the issue about the way the virus is transmitted, etc. Because what's occurring in Tulsa today with Donald Trump and thousands of people, he made them all sign a legal document stating that if they get infected, they won't sue the campaign. There's something deeper that nobody's talking about that issue. What this is a very, very calculated experiment on how the virus spreads. In other words, this is not a conspiracy theory. That's not where I'm going at all. I'm saying Donald Trump has this theory and is held along with a lot of folks on the right that this is just the flu. And what they want to show America is that they put a whole lot of people in a big confined space, and then the data isn't going to look all that bad when this stuff is over. Therefore, we can go back to work. Send Yvette and her team out there to put themselves at risk, because remember, the death rate is only about 1%. That's huge, actually, but that is how it's going to be sold. And if you lose 1% of your workforce, so what? You don't care about the dead people, right? You only care about those people that are functioning. Most people are going to recover. But guess what's starting to come out? Even those people that are asymptomatic right now, they have, for those that were tested, they have lung damage, and they're going to have other healthcare issues later on in life caused by our irresponsibility right now. So I think one of the things, and I thank you guys for doing all of that and exposing that, is to let people know that it's just like we can't see the virus, we can't see all the damage that this virus is doing. The corporations know it, the ones who have their scientists telling them these things, and they're not making us aware of it. And in that process, we become exactly what capitalism expects us to be, and that is just a whole bunch of cogs and commodities for a few to profit. And con eso, muchas gracias. I'm Egberto Willies. Okay, one of the reasons I get that I get what you're saying. Look, but actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later, Rudnin, because what I want to do is I want to play. Yeah, I got time. I want to play my other piece real quick, and then we'll go from there.
We have up next Egberto Willies from the Coffee Party, and I had the good fortune to meet Egberto a few years back at the. Now my brain's going dead, but the big.
Netroots.
Netroots Nation.
Netroots Nation. I don't know why it was such a big event. It broke my head. But anyways, Egberto has been doing journalism on behalf of the Coffee Party, and I know he does his own thing as well, and just an amazing guy. And welcome to this event.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here with this event. I'm happy that you guys invited me, because I think unless we collaborate with what we're doing, we're not going anywhere, because the headwinds are always against us. So it is great to be here. Thank you so kindly for having me here. So I think there are two things that I came here to speak about, really. One is what Coffee Party does, what many of us are doing in this domain. And it's specifically something known as Be the Media. And what does Be the Media really means? Be the Media comes to the realization that we have a mainstream media they're not bad people. ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNBC, they're not bad people. Well, Fox News is, but the others, whether they be mainstream, lean left, lean right, they're fine. But we have to understand to whom is their allegiance. And their allegiance is to those who support them. And who supports them? The ones who support them are the corporations, the institutions, and those with moneyed interests who can afford to advertise on those channels. Now, if your income, your sources of wealth is due to that particular segment of the American society, who do you think your loyalty will be towards? How will you report the news? How would you tell people exactly how things are occurring? And that's what we've had. They try to tell the news in a plausible manner, in a centrist manner, in a manner that does not rock the boat. And that is what you get. Why is it that today's explosion in the streets look like it just came out of nowhere? Because things have not been reported. Black people, people of color, have been decimated by police officers for decades, for centuries. But it was never in the interest of the American population to know that, because the police represents the people, and the police is a representation of the people. If people saw what their representation looked like, would they really stand for it? Their inner being would say, oh my God, that's me, I must change. Now, as we have started forcing the reporting of real news, and this goes with Coffee Party, this goes with institutions, private institutions that are funded by not the corporate state, but funded by you, because those visions are suddenly coming out now, America is suddenly being introspective. When you see the knee of a person's on somebody's neck, and when you see an officer who does not mind the rest of America, he knows he's being filmed, on killing a human being that he knows does not matter. When one can do that, and America sees it, and America realizes that that officer represents them, suddenly the change is out. The question is, why did it take this long for us to see the change? Independent media was out there showing, and as we grew, as more people saw us, as no matter what the externalities that came in to try to temper us, as we were able to move, we got more eyeballs. As these other private not companies, but as these other independent institutions, as Black Lives Matter, as Loves for Arts, and all these institutions started to continue forcefully pushing that message, pushing that message, America saw it. And the goodness of us, the innate goodness of all human beings, because we are good. Our economic system forces us not to be, by making us believe greed is what it takes. That's what our economic system does, right? But once we abstract ourselves from that and institute the humanity of which we really are, it comes out. What you're seeing in the streets today is people looking at themselves in the mirror. Those that still have that empathetic gene not yet completely castrated, they are seeing who we really are, and they're saying enough. Now, this is a tepid enough. It's a tepid enough. We have to be able to make sure going forward that in doing so, we have what it takes to keep it going. So I want to close out with one particular statement with regards to Coffee Party specific. That soliloquy was mostly about what we do, what I do. But Coffee Party has given us the methods of doing this, in not only addressing one side of the aisle, but addressing all sides of the aisles. In other words, addressing the human side of the aisle. And in doing so, being able to reach not Republicans or Democrats, not liberals or progressives or conservatives, not anarchists or socialists or otherwise, but to reach people on issues with your own ideology. You go to a Coffee Party and you can read about just about anything from any ideology. So please remember, folks, if you're listening to us right now, visit us. Take a look at Facebook, go to Coffee Party USA, and see what we are all about.
Well, thank you so much, Egberto. And as always, you're out there informing, educating, teaching, and that's what I believe we need to continue doing. You know, there's so many points of view and so much going on. We need to keep at it. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you and the coffee party for being a part of the show.
Thank you, Joe, for having me. Y'all have a great day. Okay, I think it's time for me now to run. I had a few other things to say, but I better run to the messages here real quick. Para ver, watching AVQ run out. Let me salute everybody. Michael Rudnin, AVQ, welcome aboard. Let's see, we have Paul Fleming, welcome aboard. Deborah Birnbaum, welcome aboard. Kathleen Marine Morgan, welcome aboard. Let's see, Susan George, welcome. Melissa A. Noble, welcome. Dexter Evans, welcome. I also have Mike Sisek, welcome. Para ver. Bruce Ballard, welcome aboard. Sir Wesley 08, welcome aboard. Let's see, Triala Wilson, welcome aboard. Norman Reynolds, welcome aboard. Let's see if I have anybody else to salute. I have nobody. Okay, Norman says, I'm beginning to believe that neutrality in reporting is a mistreatment of the truth. That is the phrase of the day. Hello, Carol Shee. Welcome aboard, Carol Shee. Or Shea, Carol Shea, I believe it is. Carol Shea. That is the phrase of the day. Neutrality in reporting is a mistreatment of the truth. I agree 100%. Okay, this is the bottom of the scroll. Yeah, I know. I had to. I saw a new message coming. Okay, let's go real quickly to the top. Dems block GOP police reform bill, which offers no substantive reform. Politico, shame on you for using such a misleading headline. You know what? When I saw that, Rudnin, you're right. Dems block it as opposed to Republicans created a ridiculous bill that didn't solve any issues whatsoever. That should have been the title. Of course, a little cleaner. Michael Rudnin said, Bo, the fifth column says it's pointless without a database for police misconduct and that the real headline should be Republicans attempt to mislead constituents. Perfecto eso. Perfecto. Michael also said, some good news on the local level. Quite a few progressives won their primaries. I know, including in New York. It looked like that long-timer got booted out. I forgot his name. AVQ, video is lagging. That's when we dropped out. Sorry about that, buddy. All right. Michael says, I often say that police are the business end of both capitalism and systemic racism. Reshared will repost my previous comments. Wow, brother. You see, Michael, there's something about you, man. You get it. You get it. Let's see. Yes, I am back. Yes, Deborah, I am back. Dems block GOP police reform. Okay, let's move on from that. Patriarchy on steroids. I love that phrase too. You're the second phrase, Deborah, just because you have less words than Norman. But Norman was good too. All right, let's see. Melissa, conservatives, it's the wrong terminology that describes them. So, Melissa, tell me what's the right terminology. Dexter Evans says, as I keep saying, can you create a right new laws for those in uniform, but it's about opportunity for which they have unlimited power, which worth more than money. I get that. Judge impeachments are a better solution than packing the court. Yes, okay. Whoa, Melissa, you gave me a long one. Overwhelmed over the weekend, Steve Schmidt, a lifelong Republican partisan who ran John McCain's 2008 campaign for president, did an interview on MSNBC, and I think I blogged it, and I think I also have the words of it. Well, I think I have his speech on it. Here is the analysis of Trump, which ran almost exactly 2 minutes. I did that. So you can look on my website for that. I think it's the same one that I did. Mike Sisak, as usual, Deborah says imbeciles, talking about the people who are going to those rallies. Mike Sisak says, as usual, ignorance here beyond comprehension. Okay, Mike Sisak, still love you, brother. Please keep coming. I still love you. Someday I'm going to get to you. Michael Rudnin says, White House ends coronavirus testing for staffers. What? Excluding those who get in. So why stop it for everybody else but Trump? You see what? That is capitalism. Take care of just a few. I know it's not the exact definition, but you know what I mean. DJ Trump is the leading cause of death in America, says Melissa Noble. And Michael Rudnin replying to Melissa Nobles, no, that would be Okay, I'm not going to get in between your spat. Bruce says, here is virtual spirit. Yes, sir. Mike says, Egberto can't inform his listeners with actual science. Instead, he is spreading falsehood based on his ideology. You always say that, Mike, but you have yet to tell me what I said that wasn't true. Please. Tiala Wilson, good afternoon. Late but here. Thank you very much for being here, Tiala. And Mike, Norman wants me to say uprising, not riot. Uprising. Don't fall into the game. You're right, sir. Okay. Michael Redden says, Egberto, coronavirus death rate is 4.9%, not 1%. The reason I said 1% is everybody going to the thing isn't going to get the coronavirus. The reason I said 1% is I assume that most people won't get the virus. So I meant 1% of all the people that went there. That's where the differentiation came from, Mike. But even my 1% there would be wrong. It would actually be less than 1% for the entire population proper. Let's see. Michael Rudden, mainstream media has a problem. You're correct. I won't read the rest. That'll be left there. Carol Shea said hello. Michael Rudden is the bottom scroll up. Engel is out. And yes, Engel, that's the person. That's the guy who's out. And reply, Melissa Noble, not conservatives, regressives. Not conservative, regressive. Folks, I got to get out of here. So I only have enough time to tell you, please subscribe to Politics Done Right. To do that, just go to patreon.com/politics done right. I have it in the stream. Patreon, patreon.com/politics done right. You can also do that via PayPal to contribute at PayPal. Go ahead and go to paypal.me/politics done right. That is paypal.me/politics done right. And of course, you can always go to our store, get yourself a mug, get yourself our book, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, or my book on my weight control, how you can do it as well, lose weight and be fit now. And of course, all our t-shirts and cups and all that good stuff that we have out there. I got to get out of here. I want to thank you so kindly for being here. I know you have the options to go anywhere on the internet and that you've spent some time listening to Politics Done Right, spending some time with me, giving me ideas, talking to me, criticizing me. All of that is a part of what makes a vibrant conversation, and I love it all. I love the people who are against me. I love the people who are for me. I love the people who are just neutral, because that is what creates, that is what is a society. That is a society. And, you know, so that is what we're all about. My name is Egberto Willies, and you know how I end this baby? I am what? Out! I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.